To our prudent instructor, to my fellow classmates, guests, and everybody, a pleasant day to all of you. Every day is the new day to learn, according to Zig Ziglar. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. I am Jude
And
Calonia,
I am Beverly Casinillo.
and
And
let us learn together in the world of biology. Biology is a study of living organisms divided into many specialized fields that cover their morphology, physiology, anatomy, behavior, origin, and distribution. Greek word of biology is bios means life, and logos means study. Am I right, partner?
Absolutely right, Mr. Kalanya. Well, you know what biology have three different branches, and these are the botany, zoology, and the microbiology. Well, the botany is a branch of biology which deals in the different aspects of plants, and the zoology is the study of biology which deals in the different aspects of animals. Well, the microbiology, it deals with the study of the different aspects of microorganisms.
I think let's just focus on microbiology. I like small things. Now, let me introduce to you our topic, the cell and DNA. But first, let's discuss the so-called cell. What are these cells? Cells is the structural and fundamental unit of life. According to Robert Hooke, was the first biologist who discovered cells. Cells are the building blocks of all living beings. They are provide structure to the body and converts the nutrients taken from the body and also converts the nutrients taken from the food into energy. Cells are just like this.
So we really need to know about the cells because it is just so amazing that knowing these tiny cells, they have a big impact in our lives.
Yes, it is.
You know what? Cells have two types, and these are the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. Well, prokaryotes are those cells that have no nucleus, and they are all single-celled microorganisms. Like bacteria and cyanobacteria, it is generally reproduced as binary fission. It is in the form of asexual reproduction. While eukaryotes, on the other hand, are the cells that have possess a true nucleus. Along with the membrane-bound organelles, it can be unicellular or multicellular, and they reproduce sexually as well as asexually.
Whoa. I think we don't really need to go farther than that. Let's proceed to the cell structure first. First is a cell membrane. Cell membrane is that supports and protects the cells. It is the outer covering of a cell. This cell's membrane is present in all the cells.
Since you mentioned this protects the cell, so does it has a wall or anything that guards outside?
Yes, partner. This is called the cell wall. Cell wall provides shape and support the cells and protects them from mechanical shocks and injuries. One thing also present in the cell membrane is that cytoplasm. It is a thick, clear, jelly-like substance.
So thank you, Mr. Calonia. Well, does it have any parts that monitors?
Yes, and this is called the nucleus. It sends the signal to the cells to grow, mature, divide, and die. Nucleus protects the DNA and is an integral component of plants' cell structure.
Wow, it is so fascinating. All structures and parts were made perfect and wonderful.
I think to be more precise and clear, let me explain it to you step by step. The cell membrane, also called the plasma membrane, is found in all cells and separates the interior of the cells from the outside environment. Cytoplasm is a thick solution that fits each cell and is enclosed by the cell membrane. It is mainly composed of water, salts, and proteins. Mitochondria, double membrane-bound organelle found in most eukaryotic organisms. It generates most of the cell supply of adenosine triphosphate. Vacuole. Vacuole is a membrane-bound cells organelle in animal cells. Vacuoles are generally small and help sequester waste products. Golgi body, or also known as Golgi apparatus, a cell organelle that helps process and package proteins and lipids molecules, especially proteins destined to be exported from the cell. Nucleus is a membrane-bound organelle that contains the cell's chromosomes. Pores in the nuclear membrane allow for the passage of molecule in and out of the nucleus. And now, let's get inside to see more closer inside the cells. The chromatin. Chromatin, a complex of DNA and proteins that forms chromosomes within the nucleus of eukaryotic cells. Under the microscope, in its extended form, it looks like beads on a string. Nucleosome is a section of DNA that is wrapped around a core of proteins. Inside the nucleus, DNA forms a complex with proteins called chromatin, in which allows the DNA to be condensed into a smaller volume. And there is the gene. Gene is the basic physical and functional unit of heredity. Genes are made up of DNA. DNA, or deoxyribonucleic acid, is a molecule composed of two polynucleotide chains that coil around each other to form a double helix carrying genetic instruction for development, functioning, growth, and reproduction of all known organisms and many viruses. Double helix refers to the structure formed by double-stranded molecules of nucleic acid such as DNA. Sugar phosphate backbone. It forms the structure framework of nucleic acid, including DNA and RNA. This backbone is composed of alternating sugar and phosphate groups. The nitrogen bases. A molecule that contains nitrogen and has the chemical properties of a base. Adenine serves as an energy storage molecule and is used to power many chemical reactions within the cells. The thymine, one of the four chemical bases in DNA, it is located on one strand, formed chemical bonds with adenine bases on the opposite strand. Guanine, located on one strand, form chemical bonds with cytosine bases on the opposite strand. The sequence of 4 DNA bases encodes the cell's genetic instructions. Cytosine. It is a pyrimidine derivative with a heterocyclic aromatic ring and two substituents attached. And lastly, the nucleotide. It is the basic building blocks of nucleic acid. RNA and DNA are polymers made of long chains of nucleotide. It consists of a sugar molecule attached to a phosphate group and nitrogen-containing base. So, partner, do you have any idea about this so-called DNA?
Well, the DNA structure can be thought of like a twisted ladder. It is a nucleic acid, and all the nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides. Whereas the DNA molecule, it is composed of units called the nucleotides, and each nucleotide is composed of 3 different components such as the sugar, phosphate groups, and the nitrogenous bases.
So does it have any types or characteristics of DNA?
Just like cells, DNA has also different types, and these are the aDNA, bDNA, and the zDNA. Well, the aDNA, it is a right-handed double helix similar to the bDNA form. And the dehydrated DNA takes an A form that protects the DNA during extreme conditions such as desiccation. Well, the bDNA, this is the most common DNA conformation, and this is a right-handed helix. Majority of the DNA has a B-type conformation under normal physiological conditions. And on the other hand, the zDNA is a left-handed DNA where the double helix wins to the left in a zigzag pattern, where it was discovered by Andres Wang and Alexander Rich. It is found ahead of the start site of a gene, and hence it is believed to play some role in a gene regulation. Moreover, DNA has different functions. Well, DNA is the genetic material in most organisms, right? So, the parental traits are passed on from generation to generation through the DNA. So, DNA controls the metabolic activities of the cell through protein synthesis. Hence, it is called the master molecule. And you know what? An error during DNA replication, it results in a change of genetic mutation or information. And these mutations are the raw material for evolution. And the DNA along with protein has shown forms the chromosomes.
But first, I'm going to explain what are the 4 rules that DNA must play in cells. The first one is replication. DNA exists in a double helical arrangement in which each base along one strand bends to a complementary base on the other strand. TS can only bend to ES and CAS only to GS. Bacteria and mitochondria may also have single-strand DNA arranged in a ring. When a cell divides, the chromosomes containing the DNA strands must replicate or make copies of themselves so that both daughter cells receive the full sets of genetic material. The second one is the encoding information. The base sequence of E, T, C, and G along DNA strand are organized into units called the genes. An adjacent trio of bases called codon specifies a particular amino acid. Therefore, the sequence of bases in genes. Third one is mutation and recombination. DNA plays a role in the evolution of species. Chromosomal DNA helices don't usually interact with each other. However, through the process of genetic recombination, segments of different chromosomes swap places with each other, creating new sequences of genetic material. Its changes occur to the DNA sequences of 6 cells. The changes can be inherited by next generation. The fourth one is the gene expression. Each cell contains a full complement of genes, yet cells from different tissues and organs look and behave differently. The reason is that only some of the DNA of each cell is used to make proteins. DNA plays a role as a traffic cop for the types of proteins a cell will make. It does this through interaction with proteins in the cells that cause only certain genes to express themselves. This is how a single fertilized egg differentiates into the many types of cells, tissues, and organs found in complex organisms. The DNA can respond to the need of particular protein by exposing the appropriate genes for transcription while keeping other genes inactive.
So we really need to know about the cells because it is just so amazing that knowing these tiny cells, they have a big impact in our lives. Now that we already know the definition of the cell and the DNA, their types, their functions, and how it works in our body, we can really say that they're really important in our lives since cell provides structure for the body wherein it take in nutrients from food and convert those foods into energy and then carry out specialized functions. And then the DNA also is a pivotal to our growth, reproduction, and health, which it contains the instructions and necessary for your cells to reproduce proteins that affect many different processes and functions in your body. So, well, the DNA and the cell contains the instructions needed for an organism to develop, survive, and reproduce. So, that's it for today's webinar. Hope you have learned a lot from our discussion.
Truly, the most amazing thing humankind could have ever discovered is the existence of DNA. DNA is the heart of all living things here on Earth. It is basically what makes a living thing alive and responsible for the continuity of life. Not only does DNA have a role on reproduction, but it also has a significant contribution in human immunity, genetics, and criminal investigation. While the infinite application of discovery of DNA helps us in a lot of ways, there are also consequences when we play too much with it. This was discussed in this film and will tackle in this proper briefly. And that would be our discussion for today, and hopefully you have learned something and you have a lot of knowledge imparted, or what we have called this learned this afternoon. And thank you so much to those who listen very well, and also especially of our instructor right this afternoon. And thank you so much for having me here as your instructor, and also with my partner Beverly Casinillo. And if you have a comments, kindly write it down and send to my Gmail account right here. And also I will leaving my Facebook account enabled for us to communicate. If you have something to clarify, or even to message, or something that makes you more uncomfortable with our report, just leave a message right there. Thank you so much. I'm your reporter this day. I'm Judy Calonia, and thank you so much, and God bless and happy listening.